The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew. At that time, Jesus was led by the Spirit into the desert to be tempted by the devil. He fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, and afterward he was hungry. The tempter approached and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command that these stones become loaves of bread." He said in reply, "It is written, one does not live on bread alone, but on every word that proceeds from the mouth of God." And then the devil took him to the holy city. He made him stand on the parapet of the temple, and he said to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, He will command His angels concerning you, and with their hands they will support you, lest you dash your foot against the stone." Jesus answered him again, "It is written, you shall not put the Lord your God to the test." And then the devil took him up to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in their magnificence. He said to him, "All of these I shall give you, if you prostrate yourself and worship me." At this Jesus said to him, "Get away, Satan. It is written, the Lord your God you shall worship, Him alone shall you serve." And then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and ministered to him. The Gospel of the Lord. Interesting, the difference a week can make. Last week we were looking at the Mount of the Temptation, or at least what is held to be the Mount of the Temptation. And then at 5:30 in the morning we began along the Via Dolorosa to do the Stations of the Cross, and that led us to Mass at the Holy Sepulchre at 7 o'clock in the morning. And that was at Calvary. The place where he was crucified. It was a pretty awesome experience, and what a great preparation for Lent, seeing and being in those holy places where he journeyed and walking in the footsteps. As we begin our own Lenten experience, when we think of Lent, what do you think of? Pardon? Sacrifice? Sure. Giving up something, right? Or maybe taking on something anew. But mostly about penance. The tradition has been that most people undertake some kind of penance during the Lenten season. Self-mortification. The traditional parlance when I was growing up was, what are you giving up for Lent? We would ask each other. Still is maybe a little common. But the expectation is very much still in place, at least for church-going people. The people are going to do something significant, something special during the Lenten season. Why do you give up something during Lent? Or why do you take on something special? And obviously the easy answer is, well, because that's the way we've always done it, right? And there's a lot of truth in that. I mean, just as sure as Christmas rolls around and you get gifts and you share gifts with others, when Lent comes around, it's a time for doing something, giving up something, practicing something more austere in our lives. But Lent is a great opportunity for us. These 40 days that we hear about Jesus spending in the desert in preparation for his public ministry. Lent comes from the Greek word lentex. It means springtime. And we understand springtime pretty well. And that is what the Lenten season is to our spiritual lives. It's a time for nurturing new growth and development. It's a time for cleaning and pruning and encouraging new growth. In the garden, we worked there, gathering up what is dead and putting it on the heap to burn, and then pruning those trees, those branches, so that they would produce more abundant fruit. So how does it all relate to our Lenten observance? What you've chosen to do during the Lenten season, how is it going to advance your personal growth and development? That is the important question. In other words, there are a lot of sacrifices that one could make during Lent, but the big overarching question in terms of my sacrifice is, how does it grow my relationship with Him? How does it grow my relationship with His people? And that is the very important piece. How is this improving my personal relationship? I could give up cigarettes, I could give up liquor every day of Lent, I might choose to attend the stations every Friday, I might go to Mass every day or go to Mass an extra time once a week. But what is it all for unless it changes me as a person? What is the value of this sacrifice if I remain unforgiving in my life, if I'm withholding forgiveness from somebody, from my neighbor? Or if I still hold on to old wounds or old hurts or old grievances, if I harbor hate in my heart, or if I harbor unforgiveness, then the sacrifice I'm making is a noble idea and a noble thought, but it's certainly not bringing any real enrichment. It's not bringing new growth in my life. It's time for me, the season of Lent, a time to look at what are some of the things I need to let go of. What are some of the things that I need to prune away so that I bear more fruit, that I become a better person in my relationship with God? Once upon a time, there was an old wise rabbi, and a young man came to visit with him. He said to him, "Rabbi, I would like to be a rabbi myself one day, just like you, and I've come to seek your advice." It was winter time when he came, and the rabbi stood looking out the window as the young man began to speak. The young man gave a glowing account of his piety and his learning. He said, "You see, Rabbi, I always dress in spotless white, just like the sages of old." He said, "I never drink any alcoholic beverages." He wasn't Catholic. "I never drink any alcoholic beverages, only water ever passes my lips," he said, "and I perform numerous penances. For instance, I always carry sharp-edged nails in my shoes to mortify myself, and even in the coldest weather, I lay in the snow and cover myself just to mortify my flesh. And then," he said, "to complete my penance, I take a dozen lashes every day on my bare back." And as the rabbi was listening, he looked outside, and there was a young farmhand. He was bringing a beautiful white stallion out to water him, and he brought him to the watering trough where he drank his fill of water. And as soon as he had done that, he laid on the ground, as horses are prone to do, and he rolled around in the snow. And then the rabbi turned to the young rabbinical candidate and he said, "Now, look at that animal." He said, "That animal too is dressed in white. He also drinks nothing but water, has nails in his shoes, and he rolls naked in the snow. And also," he said, "you can rest assured, it gets a daily ration of lashes on the rump from his master. Now," he said, "I ask you, is it a saint or is it a horse?" It was a great question. And the rabbi was saying, hey, we can do a lot of things and we can take on a lot of sacrifices and practices. But if they are not related to changing my life, and if they are not related to the invitation that he extends to me to continue improving in my life, then they are pretty empty practices. The point the rabbi was making was that penance is not an end in itself. The whole object of penance is to reform our lives. As the priest or the minister said to you on Ash Wednesday, when he placed the ashes on your forehead, he said, turn away from sin and believe in the gospel. If I am the same at the end of the 40 days and I still hold on to resentments and judgments and criticism, then what is the value of this sacrifice? When we undertake penance, we are acknowledging that we are sinners and we are expressing a desire to change and to improve ourselves. When one goes out and prunes a tree, they are not pruning the tree to punish it. They are pruning the tree so that it will bear much more fruit. That is what the season of Lent is for us. And so our penance has a goal to make us better, to rid ourselves of things that are obstacles to our continued growth. First 3 chapters in our study book are certainly a great reflection on that reality. The first chapter, you did this for me. He did indeed. And second chapter, I will bear your dark side. And the third one, I loved you enough to become one with you. What great reflections we have during these 40 days. What a great opportunity to improve and to really change ourselves.